Forget to subscribe and click the bell to get notifications.
So we want to ask you a couple of questions, just how individuals might be able to get started if they're new to the real estate market, what things they might need to look for, and pretty much how do they fund their purchases? Like, where does the money come? What are some ways that people can invest in real estate? If someone who has never got their feet wet in the market, how would they get started?
Okay, so it just depends. So not everybody has a large amount of capital. And so I would tell everyone that's interested in investing in real estate, this is definitely a hot market right now. There's tons of people making tons of money, even during these COVID times. So there are quite a few ways, even if you have zero to no money, or even if you have a few $1,000s. So the very first step, which I don't personally do, however, it's a great process, it's wholesaling. And so what wholesaling is, for those that don't know, is where you find a property that's distressed, or it looks as if somebody it could be beneficial to that individual, that they sell that property and get a profit. So for instance, where I invest, there are some houses that are either A, dilapidated, or B, getting ready to be put on the condemned list, or C, people that literally are looking forward to possibly even buying a better house or moving to a different neighborhood, but they just don't have the means. They either have a mortgage still left on a property, or they don't have the capital in order to attain that next house that would be a little bit bump up. So what you do is you find a distressed property, or somebody that is extremely eager to sell their property. So once you've identified that individual, then you would build a database or a list of people that are investors like myself that would purchase that property at a discounted rate. And so you would serve as that middle person. When you're wholesaling, you serve as that middle person to broker that deal, so to speak, even though you're not a licensed real estate agent. But you would ultimately be the go-between selling a contract. So what you do is, the person that's selling the property, it's distressed, say they want to sell the property for $10,000, okay? You know that the property itself, from the research that you've done, can be sold for $15,000 or maybe even $20,000, right? So you have a list of investors that will pay. We'll say the person wanted 10, and the investor will pay. Cut my light back on. The investor will pay 15. So you then go under contract with the person that wants to sell the property for 10,000. You sell that contract to the investor for $15,000. You had $0 in the game. All you had was your time writing up the contract. You had your time setting up or creating the relationships with the seller and the buyer. But ultimately, you go straight to title. With these contracts, you go into contract with the seller, and then you go under contract selling that contract to the buyer for $15,000. You then, on the end, when you send both of those contracts to the title company, they settle all of the things that they have to do within the title company, and you would have made $5,000 off of that deal and had $0 in the game. So that's one method. And so the second method is hard money loans. So hard money loans are very, very strict guidelines, but it's a little bit more lenient than banks. So what you would do is you would find a hard money lender in your local area, and in most cases, they will fund a renovation, they will fund a purchase and a renovation. They can't purchase the house 100%, meaning like if the house is for sale, they can't sell that. They can't give you all of the money to purchase that property. They'll give you like 90%, but there is a way around that. So if the house costs $10,000, but the renovations for that house is $20,000, they would only be able to give you 90% of that $10,000, and then 100% of that $20,000. So you would end up only with, instead of $30,000, I think you would end up with like $29,000. So you'd be short $1,000. So what you do is you actually increase your renovation budget. You increase your renovation budget so that way it'll end up covering the actual purchase of that property. That's where you can have a hard money loan that end up being zero money out of your pocket as well. So that's two processes. Third process is going to cost you some money. It's going to be real estate investment trusts. And so that's where you don't have to do as much research. You don't have to coordinate with various different people. All you do is create you a brokerage account with any stock market brokerage company. You got Webull, you can even purchase stuff on Cash App. You can purchase things on Robinhood, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Schwab. So there's multiple companies. You just pick one and you identify a real estate investment trust that are doing profitable things, particularly those that are purchasing like large lots or large commercial buildings or large businesses and stuff to that effect. And you can invest in those. And that's a way to get, put $1,000 towards a real estate investment trust. I just dropped a few that I've invested in. I think you've invested in one too. ARR is one. AGNC, I believe, is another one.
They both pay dividends.
And they both pay dividends, right? Yeah. So those are two real estate investment trusts. And you can do your research on those, and you can look at some other ones. But that's a way to get into the real estate market. I'm going to give you a few more. I'm not going to go into granular details with them, but I want to be able to provide you with at least 10 ways that you can get into the real estate investing world. Silent partners. Silent partners is where you would give some funds, the $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, whatever the amount is, to someone that's already real estate investing. And when you do that, you're looking for a certain amount of a return, whether it's 10%, 5% on that money that you loan, just kind of like you're serving as a bank. You would be the silent partner. You don't know all of the intricacies that goes involved with their renovations or their rehab. All you're doing is looking for a check, either monthly or going into a contract with you to be a silent partner. So I've used this process as well. I've done hard money as well. And I'm currently in a wholesale process. I'm actually the seller. There was a wholesaler that's going to sell one of my properties. So most of these things that I'm telling you about, it's stuff that I've somehow directly or indirectly been involved with. Silent partners, of course, had a silent partner. They contributed towards a property. They contributed a certain amount of money towards a property. While the property is being renovated, that person is receiving an interest payment plus payment towards closing off that loan that person gave us. So to give you an example, if the person gave $10,000, it might be over the course of 12 months, 18 months, 16 months. And you've included an interest of 5%, over the course of 12 months into that payment. So that's where a silent partner will come in. Joint ventures is always a positive because you're part owner in something. Joint partners is where we've analyzed a property. We've taken a property and looked at it. We've found out that this property could sell and we could make a nice profit. But here's what it's going to cost to buy it, to fix it up, and to pay utilities and all of the rest of the expenses. So when all of those numbers are crunched together and you've provided some money towards that purchase and towards all of the renovations, etc., you are then a partner in a percentage of how much you're going to receive on the proceeds. When you go through this process in a joint venture, you will then receive a part of the profit based on the percentage that you've invested in the beginning. So I'll give you an example. Property costs $100,000. Well, no. We'll just use all of the expenses. So property costs $20,000, renovations $40,000, all the other additional expenses come up to $40,000. So you're at $100,000. If a person put $50,000 up in the beginning, and then I had $50,000 in the beginning, so then that means that we are 50-50 partners. So then when we sell that property for $300,000, after we subtract the expenses and the money that we've put up to do the purchase, the profit of that $300,000 property would be $200,000. So what would then happen is I would get $100,000 plus the $50,000 that I've invested. You get $100,000 plus the $50,000 that you invested.